presentation today is MG across generations. MG, as you know, affects people of all ages. But how does age affect MG? I'd like to introduce our panel members. First, Dr. Wayne Rubinstein. He's been a great supporter for our organization. He's a member of our medical advisory board. He's a neurologist who focuses on clinical care, so he has a real day-to-day understanding of treating MG and the kind of issues that we encounter. Peggy Cashman, on the other end, she represents our retiree perspective. She was diagnosed in her 40s, had a thymectomy, and then almost fully recovered from MG. Her MG then flared a little bit later with another health issue. Mitchell Rhodes is a retired doctor. He was driving on an expressway in 2007 when he first noticed MG vision symptoms, so imagine that. Rilla Parker is my good friend, and she's traveled over 100 miles to get here today, so I appreciate that. She's a nurse, a pastor's wife, mom to 3 boys, picture athletic scholarships, an avid runner, and a coach. She was diagnosed with MG in her 40s, but may have had symptoms as early as her 20s. Holly Cost, our last person on the panel, was running a big school carnival when MG hit in 2007. A thymectomy eliminated her vision and speech problems, and she's back to a full schedule. 3 of our panelists have had thymectomies, and so I wanted to address that. I believe that they had them in their 30s or 40s. And I'm going to turn to Dr. Rubinstein. Is that one of the few treatments for MG that seems to be age-related?
Not necessarily age-related, but something that is best accomplished as early in the course of the disease as possible. So for a younger person presenting with myasthenic symptoms, thymectomy is an important weapon in your arsenal to affect a long-term improvement in clinical course. So if you do a thymectomy early in the course of the disease, your chances of having less symptoms a decade, 2 decades in the future are much greater. As individuals present in middle age, however we define middle age, I'm not sure, but, so we worry about actual cancer of the thymus gland, and so thymectomy takes a little bit of a different role. But in the older age group, where there are often other medical problems, sometimes thymectomy is too much to have somebody go through. So sometimes it doesn't get done in older age groups, and if there's no demonstrable pathology of the thymus, the benefits of it are questioned. So part of the international thymectomy trial is to help define the responses at different age groups and the exact statistics about how many people respond and how long it takes.
Both Peggy and Rilla have managed treatment of more than one illness. Peggy, could you tell us about your other illness and how it affected your MG?
In 2001, I had brain surgery, removal of a benign meningioma. I was given higher doses of prednisone, which exacerbated my MG.
I'm a nurse, and I was stuck with a dirty needle over 20 years ago, and at that time exhibited symptoms and experienced a disease called cytomegalovirus. The problem with that virus is if I am immunosuppressed, which we must do for the MG to control the symptoms, then it allows the virus to reactivate.
While others have had to redefine usual. Holly, where are you at with this?
I have to say I'm pretty much life as usual right now. I mean, I'm 49. At some point things might change, but I'm involved in the PTA. I'm playing tennis 3 or 4 times a week. I've gone off a couple of I'm one of those people that always says yes, yes, yes. So I've said no to some things to try to find time for myself every day to kind of de-stress. But I'm not taking any medicine right now. So I think it's a good thing. And I mean, I'm sure at some point I need to be aware that this can flare up. Anytime you have something else, it can, you have to watch for it. But I think it's good right now.
Mitchell, how does To what degree have you been able to get back to usual?
Trouble of vision that started 3 years ago is still there. Sometimes when I get up in the morning, the two images are pretty close together, but over the next hour they sort of separate horizontally and vertically.
If my husband had 2 wives, he'd be really...
I'm currently on prednisone 20 every other day and celseptogram twice a day with the hope of being able to taper the prednisone. I had a problem with osteoporosis and a partially collapsed thoracic vertebrae about a year after starting the prednisone, even though it wasn't a terribly high dose. So my neurologist started the Celsep with the hope of tapering the prednisone. I have good days and bad days. Yesterday I was very weak, very tired. This morning got up and did an hour's worth of exercise and look forward to coming over here. So it varies. Sometimes if we're downtown, we can walk 5-6 miles, not in one fell swoop. We'll stop at Macy's and Nordstrom's and over the course of the day, we'll walk 5 or 6 miles.
One of the issues that I don't see in print very often is cramps, but I've experienced the heck out of them, so I could, and other people in support groups that I've heard have as well.
Yeah, so cramps are very common. They occur as a result of instability at the neuromuscular junction. So the muscle is firing when it's not supposed to be firing. Anything that destabilizes the neuromuscular junction will make cramps more likely. So if you have neuropathy, in addition to having myasthenia gravis, cramps can be particularly troubling.
And what would that be?
A neuropathy, for example, commonly in diabetes, where there's loss of distal nerve function, so numbness and tingling in the extremities. When you're deficient or have relatively low levels of potassium or of calcium, you're particularly susceptible to cramps. And many patients are able to overcome that by taking some additional calcium and potassium. So the bananas and milk before you go to bed kind of prescription to reduce cramps is very helpful.
And sometimes there's cramping that you want to pay attention to because it's a problem, right? Over too much medication.
Right. So if you're also on Mestinon, which most people take less of at night, cramps become more of a problem. So for most people, cramps occur occasionally. You really don't have to do too much. If cramps occur on a regular basis at night, you should look at the timing of your medication and try and adjust that. If you're on prednisone, you should be taking calcium supplementation, so it's a good idea to maybe take that at night, unless you're going to forget to take it, in which case you should probably take it in the morning. And then adding some potassium-containing foods is usually helpful and usually not a problem unless you have anything wrong with your kidneys, and then you need to carefully watch how much potassium you're adding.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for sharing your expertise.